Hi. Unit 1 of our course deals primarily with four broad topics, which is on data formatting functions, data representation functions, data analysis functions, and financial functions under Excel. What we are going to do is we're going to take this one by one as we go along and try and understand all these aspects of Excel. We start slow and then kind of keep building up on the data that we are kind of looking at. So the first part of this section or unit 1 would deal with data formatting functions. That is what we are going to work on right now. So we are dealing with data formatting functions at this point of time. Even this will be broken down into multiple sections. Data formatting largely gets done by the entire toolbar that you see here from left to right. This entire toolbar is basically what will help you format and put data in a certain format. We are going to break this down into individual components and take things one by one. The first video is going to primarily talk about this section. So in this video, we are going to look at this portion of the toolbar, and we're going to deal with functions that that basically get done because of this segment of the toolbar, right? So let's begin and start working on this as we go along. The first one that we look at is the cut, copy, paste functionality. So let's look at this. Now we have a problem which says cut the content of the cell A5 and paste into cell E5. So let's first understand what is A5 and E5. Let's recall column A row 5 is what A5 is. So we need to cut this content and we need to place it in E5, which is column E row 5. So we need to place that here in this cell. Remember, for cutting the content, we can do a control plus X, or we could simply cut it using the toolbar item which is given on the top and then paste the data once again on the right side, right? So let's first do the cut paste exercise. We select this cell. Either I can do a cut from the top of the menu bar. If you see, the description of that menu bar comes in, so it cuts this data. We go to E5 and we paste the data in E5. So that's how cut and paste would typically work, and that's how your data would get qualified from moved from A5 to E5. That's the first portion. Now we have to copy the content of cell A10. That's the second problem that we're facing, and we have to paste it in cell E10. So I can select this, which is in A10. I can copy this, right? I can go back here and I can paste it again. In this particular case, it does not remove the content from where it was earlier, but also makes a copy of it in the new cell. So that's basically these commands here, which is cut, copy, and paste that we see here. Within this copy, you see this small arrow here. You can also copy it as a picture. That is not required for us as of now, but if you select this and copy it as a picture, it will create an image out of that, and then essentially here you can edit it. In that particular case, you will not be able to edit it. So that's the first component that we have seen, which is the cut, copy, paste items there. The second one that comes is sometimes the data that we see is not clearly distributed, or it's longer than the width of that particular cell. So here this hello, hi, how are you is actually going out of this particular cell, and hi, I'm fine is also going out of this particular cell. Now it might look fine here, but the problem is if I, let's say, do a cut of this here and paste this data here, in this case you will note that the first line gets cut. It doesn't show the entire thing. That's because the width of that particular cell does not ensure that that is shown correctly, right? So what do? We can go here right at the top. You will see somewhere here this corner of the edge of columns B and C. You see you can drag it ahead, right? So you can drag it ahead like this. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is you can select this entire column, do a right click and click on column width, and then you can select the column width to a certain number. You could put this number as, let's say, 15. It'll automatically change that to 15. You could change this column width to something like 20 and it can put that to 20. However, this becomes a little bit of a trial and error. we don't really know what should be the size of the cell. So we are struggling with actually increasing it more or less or something. Excel gives us an easier shortcut around it. If we go here again on the edge here and do a double click here would automatically resize the cell to the extent of the content, right? Again, let's look at it here. Hi, I am fine. If I just go on the edge, do a double click, it automatically adds it to the cell, right? If I just add a content, and how about you? You note that at this point of time, this content is going outside the cell. The cell is not yet aligned to it. I go to the edge once again, do a double click, and it automatically extends that as well. So cell widening could be a relevant data point for us. We could also need what is required if you select a row, or if you click on this 5, you'll be able to select a row. On the row side, you can specify what is the row height, right? So instead of 15, I could put this as 19, and the row height would increase a little bit, right? So the cell widening or increasing of the height can be done using all these functionalities. That's the second component that comes in. Third component that comes in is in terms of format painter. There's this small paint brush kind of a thing that you see here. There's a menu that comes here. What does this do? Now, format painter, as the name suggests, will copy the format of a particular cell and paste that format somewhere else, or paint a new cell with the format of the earlier cell, right? So what will it do? It will paint a new cell with the format of the selected cell, whatever cell we select, of that selected cell, right? So let's take the problem statement here. We want to format this 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 with the same format as that what is there in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's what we're going to do. There's a small error here. This should be cell A8 with the properties of cell A5. That's what we want to do, right? You see this is dark, this is bold as the number, as well as the background is yellow. We'll arrive at how do we reach at that point of time. But if I select cell A5, I click on Format Painter, you see there is a plus sign and you see a small paintbrush that has come along with the cursor, along with your mouse cursor now. You click on 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 and the format of the original cell gets pasted in the new cell as well. So effectively we have copied and reformatted the new cell based on the format of the earlier cell. That takes care of our Format Painter segment. The next section that we see here, this Calibri 11A with a triangle upwards, A with a triangle downwards, B, I, U, and colors here, is the entire exercise on fonts. So we can format all these fonts here, right? The first thing is use of bold, italics, and underline on the following. So hi, how are you? If I click on B, this will embolden it. If I click on I, this will italicize it, give an emphasis on it. If I click on underline, it will create an underline as well, correct? All these three functions can also be used with shortcuts. What are these shortcuts? Let's first revert back to our initial state. So if I click it again, the underline goes. If I click this I again, the italics goes. If I click the bold again, the bold goes. Now all we need to use is use control key. Use the control key, CTRL, with these respective points, B, I, and U, right? So if I select this cell and press Control plus B, right? If I select this cell and press Control B, it will automatically highlight it, or embolden it, right? If I select Control I, it will automatically italicize it. And when I press Control plus U, it will underline it. So what did I do? I pressed Control plus B, I pressed Control plus I, and I pressed Control plus U. Those are the three functions that we did. Let's do that one by one once again. Let's press Control B. It will remove the bold part. So that's what we did. Now let's press Control I. it'll remove the italics, and let's press Control U. It'll, sorry, I will select this and do it. It'll remove the underline as well, right? I can change the font as well. So I can take this here. There are a whole host of fonts which are available. I can select Arial and put this as Arial. I can select it as some other font and put it as that. Calibri is the standard font with which Excel works, so we can use Calibri. This 11 here allows us to kind of increase the font size or decrease the font size to our relevant number. We can do that. Font size can be increased or decreased also by using these two small buttons here. I can select the cell and press A with an upward triangle, and that keeps increasing the font. I can keep pressing this other one, and that keeps decreasing the font. So these two numbers are basically for increasing and decreasing the fonts, right? Now next that we look at is basically using borders for the below table. So let's say we have data in the form of this table. I want to create a border, right? Borders could be on all sides. It could be on all the inside edges as well, or there could be a combination. So this portion here, this small arrow that we see here is going to tell us what kind of borders can come in. I can select this and it gives me a whole list of borders. If I put bottom border, it will only put a border at the lowermost cells, bottom of lowermost cells. If I put a top border, let's say I select this entire cells and cells and put this, I'll get a top border, right? I can put a left one. I can select this again. I can put a left border and I can put a right border, and when I do that, the borders would appear. The left one would not appear because that's exactly coinciding with the column border, but that's okay. I can select all of this and I can basically go and do what is called as all borders, in which case the entire table sees borders. I can make it look even interesting by using a thick box border, saying that outside border has to be a thicker one. And then there are some other functions that are also available here. I can remove the border. I can change the line color. I can change the line color to red. And essentially wherever I click that, it will automatically start changing the line color to red as we do that, right? So those could be done. And if I select the line color to red and click on all borders, it will put all borders on this front, right? There are a host of other small functions there. You could look at them as well, but primarily used for kind of putting borders on all the cells as we require, correct? Then we go to color format and font for the below. Let's see, hello world. We can put a background theme color. So let's say we want the background to be blue. Let's resize this a little bit so that it fits in. And because it's blue and I can't see the black easily, I may want to color that to white. I may want to color that to light blue or maybe yellow, right? So basically I can pick up any of these formats and put them in. The colors could be in the form of a palette as well, where there is a standard predefined set of colors that you could choose from here, or you could create a customized color at your own end just by selecting anything here. So either standard colors or customized colors, you could look at those and the color changes based on that, right? Similarly, here you could do this. You can choose one standard color or another standard color and put that in such that the color format and font for below would work. Remember, if I select this, just to kind of recap on one of our earlier things, format painter and select this, it'll color format this. And now remember, because we have the length not the width of the column not clearly working, we'll have to double click this. If I double click this here, it will increase the width to the maximum length cell that is available, data that is available, right? So when I do this, it does that because this particular line, which is use of bold, italic and underline on the following, is the longest piece of text which is available. So automatically it aligns based on that, right? We could also choose to do this manually such that it reaches only here. That's what we did in terms of using color format and font for the below, right? So that's what brings us to an end of this particular section. Remember, we have already kind of worked on these parts of the formatting toolbar. There are other parts which follow, which would follow in subsequent videos.